Well, hello there, and thanks for tuning in today. Wanted to discuss a topic that I was actually kind of came to. I was walking my dog earlier and had a few thoughts, and just kind of wanted to discuss the concept of death and kind of the my thoughts around dying and kind of what happens after and things like that. I thought it'd be kind of a fun topic to share before the end of the new year. So to kick us off, I want to state, based on the title, I don't think death is the end. I think it is just another journey. And I'm going to quote Gandalf here a little bit. Death is the final path we all must take. And in reality, I view it more of as our physical bodies are dying. I think this is actually rooted in quantum mechanics and quantum physics. If you kind of believe in the law of not believe, if you understand the law of thermodynamics, energy cannot be created nor destroyed. And it's interesting because technically all matter is energy, since all matter is made of either cells or atoms. Cells would be specifically related to living organisms, typically. But we'll just cut it down even further right into the atoms. So atoms are little conglomerations of energy. That's literally all they are. That's how come when you split an atom, there's a explosion. That's what nukes are based off of for the most part. Well, there's different types of nukes. The nukes that they dropped back in the day, those you split an atom and it created this massive amount of energy. And that's because the energy inside the atom was transferred from this. In essence, this atom is just a ball of potential energy that then eventually gets converted into just in the sense it was kinetic and thermal energy, and resulted in these mass explosions that completely decimated two cities in Japan. That's a complete tangent, but just kind of wanted to lay the groundwork to kind of get an understanding of what I mean when I say an atom is made of energy. So you have your electrons, protons, neutrons, then you can dig further down, you have like quarks and all this stuff. And it's interesting because there's actually more space. There's more unfilled space in an atom than there is space. So what I mean by that is there's more empty space. We are actually more empty space than we are matter. And that's just on a quantum level. We can't comprehend that because we're packed so tightly together. And when you literally touch your hand, you're not like going to phase through it. Because the energy is so packed together, and there's other factors at play. Protons and electrons repel each other, so naturally it's gonna, when you have let's say a clump of atoms here and a clump of atoms here, they're gonna naturally, when they get close together, they're gonna infinitely, in essence, like repel each other on a very very small scale. I'm not a physicist in any way, but just on my basic understanding of how physics work. Energy can't be created nor destroyed. So, in essence, we are energy. And I'm talking a very clinical definition of because we are a conglomeration of atoms, we are physically energy. You're gonna hear, I might get backlash for this, like, oh, he's all woo-woo and spiritual. And I'm like, you can take that in a spiritual context. I believe in, honestly, both, because I think the spiritual context is actually quite true in a lot of ways. But we are all technically, we are, because we're energy. All energy is you have a waveform. Energy is in essence a wave. So these atoms, it's actually pretty cool. An electron and proton, we can't measure its location, it's you can't know its, I think it's speed and location at the same time. So basically, what that means is atoms are constantly vibrating and moving, and they vibrate and move at different frequencies. So, like in essence, your computer is made of different atoms than we are. So your computer is going to vibrate at a different frequency than you do. Same thing with this camera; it's going to be vibrating at a different frequency than I am. It's going to be vibrating at a different frequency than my show you my dog Percy there. So it's interesting that quantum mechanics already proves that we are technically all energy, just not in like the traditional sense, or in the way that a lot of these, more recent spiritual, enlightened, or however you want to say it, New Earth folks but it does have some truth to it, because they aren't lying about when we say we're all energy. I find it really funny when you have these really logical folks like, oh, I hate it when people, say we're energy, and it's like, it's crazy. How is that? It's like, that's insane. It's all this spirituality mumbo jumbo, and it's like, well, there is some truth behind it, and go talk to your local physicist. Go look up online basic quantum mechanics. Quantum mechanics operates a completely different level than macro physics. So basically, we don't know a whole lot about it. We can only theorize a lot of it, because it is literally it's like a completely different universe. It's like micro universes inside of us and inside of everything. It's pretty freaking fascinating. But with that context in mind, and kind of getting a halfway decent understanding, I know I probably butchered some of that, but a halfway decent understanding of what we like, why we are energy, and we take the law of thermodynamics, or one of the laws of thermodynamics, that energy can be neither created nor destroyed. Let's now shift to the concept of consciousness. So this brings us to the question, like, are we our mind? Are we our brain? Is our brain a representation of a consciousness, or does it kind of is it just a vehicle or vessel to house the firing of neurons and whatever consciousness is created? I don't think anybody on this world, in this world, knows like how consciousness is directly represented in the body. I know that there's I know that we technically have stored natural DMT in our brains that gets released when you die. That's how come they say when people have near-death experiences, when they die, your life flashes before your eyes. In essence, all that DMT gets released and you see your entire life. Or that's what people claim. I wouldn't be surprised if that was pretty accurate. But basically, let's take consciousness. So consciousness in itself, I believe, is separate from the body. So when we die, we have our bodies. That is a form of energy. It passes. It's kind of interesting. When you die, the life leaves the body, and I physically mean when I say life leaves the body, I'm talking like an energy leaves the body. And they did these, there was this study, I'll look it up. I'm gonna talk about this honestly in more detail, and probably a video that's not as much freeform, because I love this topic. I think it's fascinating. There was this scientist that these studies back in the day. It was in the 20th century, and he did it with atomic scales and basically measured terminally ill people when they died, their weight before and after. And it was like these scales that could somehow, it's like they could measure something down to like the weight of an atom. So it's like when these individuals passed, and I don't know the validity of this. I ended up coming across this study really long time ago. When you pass, in essence, consciousness or life moves on. That's how come the body, in a sense, is almost so heavy. It's like it's like this lifeless. I don't want to say husk, but it really is a husk. But it's a form of energy. It's just now that there's no more life, in essence, your consciousness or whatever one you call it, your soul. People call it the soul. Whole range of names. But eventually, this leaves the body, and I don't know what happens to it. I'm a proponent of reincarnation. To me, that makes sense as as a part of a doctrine. I do prescribe to Christianity quite a bit, but I also do believe that a lot of religions have pieces that are correct and don't see the whole picture. I do believe that I do believe in the concept of like a god or some type of higher power or deity, but I believe that we reincarnate to learn lessons as we kind of get pieces of our soul back or of our consciousness back till we reach this form where we can then again, join back in with the highest, our highest form, which is in a sense like the universal oneness. And the beauty of that is we don't really ever die. We are in essence immortal beings, maybe not in this physical form, because again, this is a temporary form. It's like an avatar character you're playing in a video game. But it's fast. I find it fascinating. And again, this all could be potentially theoretical or conjecture, and I'll probably get a lot of backlash, and I'm perfectly fine with that. I would love to hear your thoughts on what you think happens after we pass. So please leave that in the comments. I would really love to have some conversations with y'all about this. I find this topic fascinating, and I know that a lot of people have different thoughts about what happens after they die. But I just know that I know deep down that this is not the end. And that's just literally, I find it funny how it's like atheists are like, this is it. Like when you die, you're dead. It's like there's nothing after. It's just like infinite nothingness. And I'm like, well, isn't infinite nothingness in a sense something after death? But it's also like, based on your understanding of logic and quantum mechanics, we do move on in some capacity because our consciousness it has to be separate from our body. Just in the fact that when we have life, it's funny, when you have life and people are trying to move a person that's alive, it's a lot easier than moving a person that's dead. When they're dead, it's like literally it's like moving just like a bag of sand. There's nothing there. Comparative to when somebody's alive, it's like they physically have life in them. And I cannot describe what that life is. I do believe it's like consciousness, soul, whatever you want to call it, whatever your doctrine believes it is. But that, in essence, is a form of energy. It's just a form of energy that's separate from the body. And I'm going to go even deeper here, and I believe that consciousness inhabits the space between our atoms. I think that's where it lives. I think that makes sense why we can't measure it, because it literally is infinitely spread out between all of the space within, like, basically our proverbial atoms. So it's like, that's how come it's like you have life in your entire body. That's how come I find it very interesting. You have with like phantom limb syndrome and things like that, people who have lost an arm or a finger, they can literally still feel that they can still feel that it's there for part of the time. Sometimes they wake up and like can feel like they have a hand, and I'm like, there's all these like little clues that points to like there's definitely some other. There's some type. We are not our bodies. It's like that physically cannot be possible. And I know, again, there'll be disagreement, but I do believe that we are literally like almost. It's like we're like plugged into this body, and we play our game here on Earth. And then once this body runs its course, we unplug and move on to a new plane, another body. It could be all sorts of things. I don't know that answer, but I do know that when we die, it's not the end. And listen to Gandalf. He's got some great wisdom. He did die in Lord of the Rings and came back. And that it's funny that entire book series has a heavy Christian undertones throughout the entire series, and it has a very large religious component. But that ultimately doesn't matter. The thing is just kind of understanding that really death is nothing to fear. It's just it's a natural part of the cycle that we're here for. This body will pass eventually. Nobody is immortal in the sense of their body. In the sense of their consciousness and their soul, you're going to live for freaking ever. It's just that once you can recognize that and conquer that fear of like, okay, this form will pass, as all things do pass. However, I'm not over. I'm moving on to a new place. And I don't know what that place is, but I know that it does exist. And I'm not going to claim it's heaven or hell. I don't believe in conform. That's where I kind of that's where I might break a little bit away from the Christian doctrine. I don't necessarily believe in the traditional heaven or hell or paradise and, the inferno. That seems too easy. It seems too easy to believe in, like, when we pass, we're going to go to the magical land in the sky, or if you're good, and if you don't make it there, you're going to go into, some burning hellscape that sounds horrible. I'm going to talk about this in a separate video, the concept of heaven and hell. I think it actually is really more related to mindset and consciousness on this earth. But I'm not going to discuss that in this video. So to leave you with this, don't be afraid of death. It's not the end. It's just another journey. And it should be, honestly, it's kind of funny. really do believe if you can understand and get to the point where you look forward, it's like when, not looking forward to dying, but when you die, you're not afraid, and it's like you view, the Reaper or death as a close friend. I mean, it's the most liberating thing on the planet because you're not worried anymore about your own mortality. It's like, yeah, this form might die, but you're not gonna go anywhere. You're gonna move to where you need to, and what I mean by you is you, like you, not the physical representation of you, your consciousness, and I don't even like saying your consciousness because you are that is you. So, if you have any comments or if you have any thoughts on this, again, please, I would love to respond and have a dialogue with anyone in the comment section. I answer every comment and get to them. If you like this video, I wouldn't mind if you hit a like. Helps this channel grow and helps get the video out to other people. Also, hit subscribe if you want to see any future content. Again, that also helps the channel grow, and then hit that notification bell. I try to upload once a day on these daily thought videos. I'm going to be uploading some other content as well. So I look forward to speaking with you in the next post. But otherwise, have a great day and a fantastic holiday.